Okay, tomorrow is the track day that I'm planning on going on. So what we're going to do now is just give the bike a quick oil change and give it a bit of a once over. Other thing we've noticed is the exhaust on the hanger here has been slipping. This is causing the bottom of the exhaust to hang a bit low, which is what caused the issues with the fairings getting burnt. So we're going to pack that up a bit and hopefully make sure that it can't slip down. Might also have a go at making a bracket to hold the base of the exhaust up a little bit. So what we're going to start off by doing is cutting the lock wire on here. All done. And I've got my Go Fast juice. I get my oil from one of the bike shops. They've just got a big drum. They just chuck it in a container for me. I think it's 10W30, which is marginally heavier than what's recommended for these bikes. I think 5W30 is also recommended. Just taking this out so the oil flows out a bit better. Today is 40 degrees, so the oil is going to be pretty free flowing at the moment. Look at that. You see the oil's still in pretty good condition. It's done 4 track days at the most. 2 of them were pretty sedate. I was basically just coaching and not really going too fast. It was pretty hot both days. So that oil is, yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Doesn't look like I can see any metallic particles or anything. Also have a look at the magnetic sump plug if you've got one. This one's obviously got next to nothing on the end of it, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now, I'm not changing the oil filter, which is located there. It's only had, this will be the first oil change that I've done since installing that filter. The filter is, I usually change them every 3 oil changes. You know, they're usually good for, 10,000 kilometers on a straight bike. The biggest issue, the reason we change the oil so much is because it degrades with the heat of these things running at max RPM, but the actual filtration provided by that oil filter should still be pretty good at this point. Now if I go racing, I'm going to have to replace this with a proper bolt that I can lock wire, because that's what's required for anything that controls the flow of oil on your bike or any liquid. So get that click, done. Here, unfortunately with the BMWs, oil sight glass is on the opposite side, so that's it. It's actually looking pretty full already. It's up to about there. So we'll give the engine a bit of a start up in a sec and let it pump through. Now that oil's pumped through, come back down here, have a look at our sight glass. That's top of the sight glass, is pretty much exactly where we want it. And finally we've got this cap back on before we forget. Grab some lock wire, that much. Now I've got a proper set of Locklite pliers. You can do this using normal pliers. Let's find a nice, I've got a hole drilled here for that to go through. Always clamp it just a little bit further than where you want the hole to be to line up. Just because when it tightens up, it generally shortens just a smidge. Braid, don't braid it too tightly, otherwise it will just snap. And trim off any excess because you don't want to get it caught in your leathers or anything like that. Just fold it away. There you go, Locklite. Now, as I said before, for racing, every place that oil or water can go in and out of has to be lock-wired. Anything that gets replaced frequently or removed frequently, so say brake calipers, they get lock-wired as well, and it's just a safety thing. If one of these bolts fell out during a race, obviously your bike becomes unsafe, and also now there's a big bolt line on the track which isn't good for anyone. Your brake calipers do tend to come off quite frequently every time you change tyre anyway, so it's kind of a bit of a safety thing in case someone doesn't tighten one of them up properly once they get reinstalled. Okay, so this just needs a little bit more grip on the can just to stop it slipping through, which seems to be what's happening on the Trackday, and ends up down there, which is causing the exhaust to contact the fairing. So what I'm going to do is just inside the band on the back here, I've got a little bit of heat wrap. I'm going to cut that, wedge it in there. Hopefully that's good enough to keep it, or give that little bit of extra clamping force there to make sure it can't slide. Now, just because this stuff can fray a bit, I'm going to add a little bit of silicone along the edges. Hopefully it keeps it together. Okay, last one, just going to put the fairings back on, then I'm going to have a quick look over at the brake pads, make sure that they're still serviceable at the moment, and was going to make a bracket to see if it could hold up the bottom of that exhaust, but now that I've finished the modification to that rear hanger, I think it's probably going to hold up alright. You can see, I will test fit it, you can see on my fairings, the exhaust did just slip down and touch the top of them there. So the other option I've got is maybe to just trim that away so it doesn't hit and at least doesn't catch fire. Okay, I am organising a new windscreen. This one does have a crack in it. It's not here on time for the track day tomorrow, so we will just use it with tape on it for now. It'll get replaced in due time. things don't need to be up too tight. It's good wrench hand tight is good enough with a screwdriver. They've got no lock nuts, so they're not coming off. Okay, on this little thing I've just taped up where I've done the fairing repair. It is definitely gonna hopefully look good from far, but the reality is it looks far from good. So see what happens if I get a photo or two on the track. So before I put on that lower fairing, I'm actually gonna jump in here, and there's two bolts up here, one there, one over there. They hold on my radiator guard. I'm actually going to remove the whole radiator guard. I know it sounds a bit dodgy, but the reality is it's the last track that I did was 36 degrees and 56 degree track temperature. Convert that to Fahrenheit if you want to, but the reality is this bike needs a bit more cooling. So I'm going to take that off. If you have a look in here, you can see it's blocking off a good centimetre and a half around every edge, which is probably substantial. Plus even the mesh will slow down the airflow through there to some degree. So yeah, for additional cooling, I'm going to take it off the radiator. I did see radiator temps of 110 degrees Celsius, which is probably a little bit on the high side. Oh yeah, out you come. Oh, look at all that junk. I'll have to clean that off with a brush. Just don't be too forceful with it, because you don't want to bend any of those fins over. It's also why you never pressure clean your radiator. Not with a high pressure cleaner anyway. Right, so this is the type of thing you get when you work on second-hand bikes. Unfortunately, what I've noticed is this grommet here. It's obviously been torn off. It should look like that grommet there. I'm gonna have to go find a big washer to go on this shoulder bolt to hold it in place. Wish it could be rubber, but it's what we do. Okay, and this is why we keep spares. Go grab a shoulder bolt out of my big box of loose fasteners. Oh, sorry, not a shoulder bolt, a big washer. See if we can get this in. At least this one's a bit easier than the other side. Okay, they're in. Just got to get this little sensor wire back in its clip. Don't really want that one to go. That's my traction control sensor wire. Goes down to the wheel speed sensor down here. Okay, lower fairing and we're done. While we're here, I'm in this compromising position. Let's have a quick look in there. Brake pads. Ooh, they are getting a bit worn. I think there's just enough for one more day, and then I will be ripping them out and replacing them with a new set. And just like that, the bike is ready for its track day. So please like and subscribe, see how that track day went, and stick around for some outtakes. I really should have done this before installing the top fairing, but here we are. FML. Let's try this. Yes, I did use my front stand as a bit of a lever to get that radiator up to the right height. Would have been great if I had someone here helping me, but Colin's not always available. I still got a 10mm. Lucky me.